One of the things I am most excited to see in the upcoming Wolverine game is all the iconic suits that Insomniac is going to include from comics, movies, and shows. In Insomniac Spider-Man, there was a plethora of different suits that you could collect and utilize in the game, and I expect this game to be no different, as Wolverine has had a wide variety of different iconic looks over the years. And in this video, I want to talk about a bunch of the suits that I really am hoping we get in this game. And to kick off, even though the best suit that we have gotten for Wolverine on the big screen is the suit that we saw Hugh Jackman don in Deadpool vs. Wolverine, I think it's the 2000s X-Men suit that has to make it into this game no matter what. I of course would also love to have the Deadpool and Wolverine suit as well as any other suit or attire that we've seen Wolverine don in his expansive movie history, but that 2000 X-Men movie was just so important, and I think it'd be a disservice to not give it some love in this game. Now perhaps I'm just a prisoner of my nostalgia, but I've come to appreciate the look of the characters from that movie, even if it's a lot of leather and not a lot of color. No, it's not my favorite look for the character, of course, and yes, it is basically the embodiment of studios being reluctant to fully embrace comic books. However, if it was in the game, I know for a fact I'd be rocking that suit at some point and reminiscing about the 2000s X-Men movie, which I absolutely adore and rewatch quite frequently. A personal favorite of mine comes from the first X-Men comic series I remember reading, and that is the Ultimate X-Men from the early 2000s, which features a short-sleeved Wolverine suit, which is black with yellowish tan stripes on the shoulder. Similar to my love for the 2000s movie suit, perhaps my nostalgia is getting a bit in the way considering this is again more of a simple design for the character, but I really do like it, and I think it's a good middle ground between wanting to be more grounded / adult, or some may say realistic, which they were definitely trying to go for with those X-Men comics, as they were heavily inspired by the X-Men 2000 movie, but it also still embraces the traditional design of the character with still including a splash more of color and short sleeves. And I will say, even though the character design is very much for the time that it was created, I do think it still holds up to this day, unlike the book, which I recently tried to reread that run, and man, there are some good parts, especially at the beginning, but man does it fall off, and I don't know what the obsession was with making every character in that book an absolute asshole. The two most highly requested suits that I've seen for this game are the X-Force suit and the John Byrne suit, and I'll be honest, I really don't have anything to add. They are without a doubt some of the coolest looks for the character, and Byrne's brown and tan suit is simply perfection in my opinion. I have yet to see a better design for the character in a game, comic, movie, or TV show. The X-Force suit is basically the perfect stealth suit for the character, and I think it's very possible we may even be prompted to wear a suit similar to this in the game because it just makes sense tactically. I don't know if stealth is going to be a major focus of this game. It seems like it could be a part of it, but if it is, please just prompt us to wear the X-Force suit because I don't think anybody's going to say no to that, as it is just really a perfect suit that is absolutely badass. Obviously, with this being a wishlist video, I can't really guarantee that any of these suits are going to make it into the game, but with these two suits, I can say with pretty much 100% certainty these are going to be in the game. I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't make it into the game, as they have been so highly demanded, and Insomniac is too smart of a studio to not include them. Patch is one of the more fun designs for the character, and even though it may be a little out of place to see Wolverine wearing a white suit and an eye patch, I've absolutely loved the design, and I always like when Wolverine goes undercover. And when we think about the game and some of the details that we already know, we know that Madripoor is going to be a location in this game, so I do think also story-wise it could make a lot of sense to include this if Wolverine does go undercover in any part of this game. So not only would it be fun to look all nice and dapper in a white suit and bow tie as opposed to Logan's more typical rugged look, it's very possible this could actually serve a story purpose in the game if there's any undercover work that needs to be done. Also, speaking of Madripoor, with it being in the game, we also have to get the black stealth suit that he uses. Yes, it may be a very simple design with just basically black pants, a black tank top, and a red belt, but I always thought it looked pretty cool, especially when you add in the black eye paint. It's a very simple but effective stealth suit that I definitely would use a lot if Insomniac added it. X-Men the Animated Series is one of the best animated superhero TV series of all time, and I think it'd be a huge missed opportunity to not include that suit in the game. Now I know it's a very similar design to the classic look for Wolverine, as well as the Insomniac suit that we are already getting in the game, but in order to make this one more unique, I'd love to see them do something similar as what they did with the Into the Spider-Verse suits in the previous Insomniac games, where the suit was animated in a way where you could clearly tell it was from the Into the Spider-Verse universe. Now obviously when it comes to X-Men the Animated Series, the animation style would have to be vastly different from what we got from the Into the Spider-Verse suits, but I just like to see something like that because the X-Men Animated Series, similar to the X-Men 2000 movie, is just so important for so many people, and I really do think it'd be a really cool addition to the game, even if you had to use a bit more of like the X-Men 97 animation, which of course is a continuation of that show, so that's totally fine with me as well. I do also think Insomniac would be wise to honor the original look of Wolverine from his debut comic appearance in Hulk 180, and even though I definitely think they've improved upon the look of Wolverine as time has gone on, I really do enjoy the original suit from his first appearance. The yellow with the bright blue is of course iconic, and of course still used as a staple in many Wolverine designs to this day, but I do really love the cowl from the original design. Now I do do think that the larger flaps or fins that we see on Wolverine's cowl for the most part is the definitive way to draw the character and does look the best, but I do think it's a nice change of pace to see the more minimal fins that we see with the original design, which has also been incorporated in other designs in more modern works with Wolverine. And I've always found it interesting what a new artist wants to do with the cowl, because it's very similar to like Batman's ears, where sometimes they're really long, sometimes they're really short, and even though you wouldn't think it makes that big of a difference, it really does affect how the cowl looks. And even though, again, I do prefer the much larger ones, which I do think most people do prefer, I do think it'd be nice to just have some different options, and of course, honoring the original design of the character is always a smart thing to do. Even though this next one was a bit short-lived in the comics, I really did love the X-Men training uniform that was featured in Uncanny X-Men. I don't know what it is, but I really like the big red belt along with the sleeves, maybe because it's simply not typical for most Wolverine designs. But honestly, if this does make it into the game, I probably will use this suit the most. I like it that much. Well, I guess maybe not the most, because it would probably still be the brown and tan, because that is still the best look for the character, but this would honestly be a very close second, which I do think is a little crazy to say considering Wolverine barely even used this suit. I just have always really loved the design. Another classic look that I think would be quite shocking if it did not make it into the game is the Weapon X design, which is one of the most iconic designs in the entire character's history, which is honestly pretty crazy to say considering he's basically just in headgear and underwear with some cables wrapped around him, but it is from a story that is one of Wolverine's best and is still truly amazing to this day. And for a character who is known to be rugged and like a wild animal, it does not get more wild than this design. Now, this last one is technically not a suit worn by Logan, which I know for some may make it ineligible for this list, but I think it's in the realm of possibility considering we got a Scarlet Spider suit in Insomniac Spider-Man, and what I'm specifically referencing is what Daken, Wolverine's son, wore when he was a part of the Dark Avengers, which is basically the brown and tan suit, but Daken has a very prominent sleeve that I just think makes the suit look a little extra badass. I'm sure some of you are thinking it'd be a really dumb addition to the game, but I really did like that Dark Avengers book, so I'll admit this is my own personal bias. But now I want to know, what suits do you want to see in Insomniac's Wolverine game? Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in another video.